In the world of metallurgy and high-end bladesmithing, steel does not lie. You can take a cheap, low-carbon piece of scrap metal, grind it down, polish it with diamond paste, and make it shine like a mirror. To the untrained eye, it looks like a masterpiece. But the moment you take that cheap steel and strike it against something solid, the illusion ends. The truth of a blade is not found in the polish. It is found in the fire. It is found in the microscopic alignment of the carbon molecules. It requires thousands of hours of intense heat, crushing pressure, and absolute patience to forge something truly unbreakable. I spent my entire life standing in front of a 2,000-degree forge, mastering the art of holding things together under extreme stress. I just never realized that the most fragile, poorly tempered thing in my life was my own marriage. My name is Ronan. I'm 36 years old, and I am a master bladesmith. I specialize in historical metallurgy and pattern-welded Damascus steel. 5 years ago, I married Camilla. Camilla was an independent fine art consultant and dealer. She operated in a pristine, sterile world of white-walled galleries, champagne flutes, and wealthy collectors. I operated in a world of coal dust, sulfur, and burns. We were opposites, but I thought we were building an empire together. She had the connections to the ultra-wealthy buyers, and I had the hands to forge the art. 3 years into our marriage, we secured the ultimate commission. A Japanese tech billionaire and historical weapons collector commissioned me to forge a traditional katana, but with a unique twist. The outer jacket of the blade was to be folded from the iron of a recently discovered meteorite. It was the most complex, grueling project of my life. I spent 18 months working 18-hour days. I folded the meteorite iron and high-carbon steel thousands of times, creating a breathtaking, swirling pattern that looked like a dark galaxy trapped in the metal. The final appraisal for the finished, jewel-encrusted blade was an astonishing $1.5 million. It was my magnum opus. I told Camilla this sword was our ticket to total financial freedom. We would never have to hustle again. But Camilla didn't want to wait for the final polish. She looked at my soot-stained clothes and exhausted eyes, and she decided she wanted the $1.5 million, but she wanted to share it with someone who looked better in a suit.
The corrosion in our marriage started when Camilla began consulting for a man named Donovan. Donovan was 40 years old and the host of a massively popular, flashy reality TV show about historical weapons and combat. He had a perfectly manicured beard, wore tight designer leather jackets, and had an army of Instagram followers. But in the actual bladesmithing community, Donovan was a known joke. He couldn't forge a butter knife. He bought mass-produced, machine-milled swords from overseas, slapped his logo on them, and sold them to his naive fans at a massive markup. He was a television personality, not a craftsman. Suddenly, Camilla was spending all her time flying to Los Angeles, claiming she was advising Donovan on his private antique collection. The red flags didn't just quietly appear. They burned like a forge flare-up. First, the profound, unapologetic disrespect. Camilla started actively belittling my life's work. "Ronan, you need to understand scale," she scoffed one evening, tossing her $4,000 handbag onto our kitchen counter. "Donovan reaches millions of people. He controls the culture of the weapon industry. You're just a guy swinging a hammer in a dirty shed. You lack the branding instinct. Nobody cares about the history. They just care about the spectacle." Second, the intense, unnatural secrecy regarding her devices. Camilla, who used to ask me to plug her phone into charge, suddenly changed her passcode to a complex string. She started taking client crisis calls in her car, sitting in the driveway with the engine running for 30 minutes before coming inside. Third, and by far the most terrifying, was her sudden, highly specific interest in the metallurgical testing process for the meteorite sword. Camilla, a woman who absolutely loathed my forge, suddenly asked me exactly when the final heat treatment was happening, and if the client was requiring a traditional destructive cutting test, tamishigiri, before releasing the funds. When an art consultant suddenly cares about the structural physics of a destructive cutting test, you don't answer the question. You inspect the steel for fractures.
Because I work with explosive gases and millions of dollars of raw materials, My forge is equipped with a high-end, motion-activated thermal security camera system linked directly to my private server. One Saturday night, when I was supposedly outsourcing specialized polishing stones, my phone vibrated with a critical priority alert from the forge. I pulled my truck into an empty parking lot, opened my secure server app, and tapped into the live camera feed. It was Camilla and Donovan. They weren't just hooking up on my layout table. They were actively unzipping the specialized climate-controlled pelican case containing the finished meteorite sword. Because the forge was perfectly quiet, the highly sensitive microphone picked up their conversation with crystal clarity. Donovan was running his hand over the breathtaking, swirling steel of the blade, his voice shaking with pure greed. "This is it, Camilla. This is the Holy Grail. The Japanese buyer is flying into Malibu next Friday for the live broadcast. If I perform the cutting test with this blade on my live stream and claim I forged it, the billionaire will wire the $1.5 million directly to my production company. It will be the biggest television event of the year." Camilla laughed, a cold, cruel sound that made my blood run cold. Ronan is completely oblivious. Here is the timeline. When he leaves for his metallurgy conference in Seattle next weekend, we take the sword and the certificate of authenticity. Before I leave, I'll open the main propane valve and throw a spark. The forge will burn to the ground. I'll tell him a gas leak caused an explosion and the sword melted into a puddle of slag. He'll be completely devastated. Donovan kissed her neck. And then, I serve him the divorce papers while he's crying over the ashes of his shed, Camilla sneered. He has no money, no lawyers, and his masterpiece is gone. He's just a sad, dirty blacksmith, Donovan. We'll be royalty, baby. I sat alone in the sweltering cab of my truck, staring at the glowing monitor as my entire reality shattered. My wife of 5 years was sleeping with a parasitic television hack. Together, they were actively plotting to steal 18 months of my blood, sweat, and genius, intentionally commit arson to burn down my livelihood, sell my masterpiece on a global broadcast, and leave me completely destitute in the ashes. They thought I was just a naive guy who swung a hammer. They didn't understand the level of absolute, unmitigated chemical destruction a master metallurgist is capable of forging.
If you want to destroy a fake warrior, you don't fight him without a weapon. You hand him a beautiful, flawless sword, and you let him swing it at a concrete wall. I didn't confront her. If I yelled and locked the forge, Donovan's army of television lawyers would bury me in injunctions, claim they had a verbal contract to the design, and tie me up in court for a decade until I went bankrupt. I needed them to steal the sword. I needed Donovan to proudly swing my creation on live, unedited television. So I went to work in the heat. I took the true, priceless meteorite sword, wrapped it in oiled silk, and locked it inside an air-gapped, fireproof safe hidden beneath the floorboards of my office. Then I turned my attention to the forge. I had exactly 72 hours before I was supposed to leave for Seattle. I took a piece of completely standard, cheap scrap steel. I forged the exact same profile, the exact same curve, and etched a fake laser-printed Damascus pattern onto the surface. To the naked eye, and especially to a television hack like Donovan, it looked absolutely identical to the masterpiece. But the secret to a sword isn't its shape, it's the heat treatment. When you heat high-carbon steel to 1500 degrees, the molecules expand. If you cool it perfectly in warm oil, it becomes hard but flexible, a deadly weapon. But I didn't quench this blade in warm oil. I plunged the glowing white-hot steel directly into freezing ice water. In metallurgy, this is called untempered martensite. The microscopic structure of the steel forcefully crystallizes so fast that the blade is essentially screaming with internal stress. It becomes incredibly hard, but it loses 100% of its flexibility. It basically becomes a 3-foot-long piece of highly pressurized glass. It looked beautiful, but if you struck it against anything harder than a piece of paper, it wouldn't just bend. It would violently, catastrophically shatter. I polished the rig toward.
I placed it beautifully back into its velvet-lined pelican case. I kissed Camilla goodbye on Thursday morning, told her I was going to Seattle, and watched her smile like she had just won the lottery. I let them steal the bomb. Now they just had to swing it.
I didn't go to Seattle. I flew straight to Los Angeles to meet with the most ruthless intellectual property litigator in the entertainment industry. I handed him my original, time-stamped forging logs, the early steel swatches, the official copyright applications for the unique meteorite folding pattern, and the crystal-clear audio recordings of Camilla and Donovan explicitly conspiring to commit grand larceny and arson. My lawyer smiled like a shark smelling blood in the water. "Ronan," he said, "using stolen, patented metallurgical art to secure a $1.5 million wire transfer on a live television broadcast is massive, willful corporate fraud. He is lying to a billionaire and his entire audience on a monumental scale." We didn't just draft a lawsuit. Because Camilla mentioned blowing up my forge with propane, I immediately contacted the local fire marshal and the ATF. I gave them remote access to my cameras. On Friday night, my phone alerted me. I watched the live feed as Camilla and Donovan loaded the heavy pelican case into a truck, but when Camilla walked over to the propane tanks with a lighter in her hand, the heavy doors of my shop burst open. Local police and fire investigators swarmed the building. They arrested Camilla on the spot for attempted arson. But Donovan wasn't there. He had already left for Malibu with the sword in his truck. He had no idea his accomplice was in a jail cell. He was too busy getting ready for his television debut.
Saturday afternoon, the grand finale of Donovan's live streaming event. Over 5 million people were watching the live global stream. The Japanese billionaire buyer was standing in the front row, flanked by his private security and an independent metallurgical appraiser. I sat in my dark hotel room, sipping a glass of bourbon, watching the stream in high definition. The music pounded, the crowd murmured in anticipation. Donovan's voice echoed over the PA system. And now I present the pinnacle of my career, the meteorite katana, flawless, unbreakable. He unlatched the pelican case. The crowd gasped in awe as the blade caught the Malibu sun. It was breathtaking. The billionaire nodded in deep approval. To prove the absolute perfection of my heat treatment, Donovan yelled to the cameras, "I will now perform a full-force Tameshigari cutting test through a triple-rolled, dense bamboo mat." Donovan gripped the handle of the sword with both hands. He struck a dramatic, wide stance. The camera zoomed in. I looked at the screen. I knew the math. I knew the molecular structure of that exact piece of steel. Donovan roared, swung the blade in a massive theatrical arc, and slammed the edge of the sword into the dense, solid bamboo core of the mat. Crack. It sounded like a shotgun going off. On the live global broadcast, right in front of the billionaire and 5 million viewers, the magic violently died. The blade didn't cut the bamboo. The immense kinetic energy of the swing hit the untempered, highly stressed steel. In a fraction of a millisecond, the entire 3-foot blade catastrophically exploded. Hundreds of jagged, razor-sharp shards of cheap steel violently shattered outward like a hand grenade. Shrapnel rained down on the pristine grass. Donovan screamed in absolute terror, dropping the handle, instinctively covering his face as pieces of the shattered sword bounced off his leather jacket. The billionaire buyer physically jumped back as a massive chunk of the broken blade embedded itself into the dirt 3 inches from his expensive shoes. The entire Malibu estate went dead, pin-drop silent, and then absolute, apocalyptic chaos erupted. The billionaire's security detail immediately surrounded him, pulling their weapons, thinking it was an attack. Donovan was on his knees in the grass, trembling, staring at the empty hilt in his hand in pure, unalterated horror. "What is this garbage?" the billionaire screamed at Donovan, his face purple with rage. "It's shattered like cheap glass. You are a fraud." Donovan frantically looked around for his crew. "It was a flaw in the meteorite, I swear." It wasn't a flaw. It was chemistry. Before Donovan could even stand up, 3 unmarked black SUVs tore through the gates of the Malibu estate. Armed FBI agents and local police stormed the live broadcast set. I took a slow, deep sip of my bourbon, smiled at the chaotic, screaming live stream, and texted my lawyer, "Drop the hammer."
You cannot unshatter a sword on a live global broadcast. The fallout was an absolute, unmitigated corporate massacre.
The video of the sword exploding went viral globally within 10 minutes. Weapon historians and metallurgists called it the greatest, most humiliating disaster in the history of bladesmithing. But the real fatal blow happened before the cameras even turned off. The FBI agents arrested Donovan right on the lawn of the Malibu estate for conspiracy to commit grand larceny, wire fraud, and attempting to sell stolen, counterfeit goods across state lines to a foreign buyer. Because Donovan had lied to his television network and his massive sponsors about forging the weapons himself, his network panicked. They fired Donovan for cause that same night, stripped him of all merchandising rights, and publicly threw him under the bus. He was hit with massive lawsuits from his own producers, completely ruining him financially. Camilla's life was vaporized. Sitting in a county jail cell for attempted arson, she watched her entire escape plan burn to ash. Donovan, realizing he was facing federal prison for fraud, immediately blamed her, telling investigators that she was a rogue art dealer who had supplied him with a defective stolen prop without his knowledge. She called me from the jail, sobbing so hard she was hyperventilating. Ronan, please, the police arrested me. Donovan dumped me. The sword exploded. You have to tell them you made a mistake with the heat treatment. Please, I'll do anything." "I didn't make a mistake, Camilla," I said calmly, striking a hammer lightly against my anvil. "I gave you exactly what you stole. You just forgot to do your structural stress tests. I read your messages, by the way. Good luck fighting the arson charges." I hung up and blocked her number. During our divorce settlement, she had absolutely zero leverage. Because she was facing criminal charges for corporate espionage and attempted arson against me, the judge awarded me 100% of the marital assets, the forge, and denied her any alimony. She walked away with massive legal debt and a permanently ruined reputation.
It's been almost 3 years since that broadcast in Malibu. After the dust settled, I contacted the Japanese billionaire directly. I showed him the security footage and explained the sabotage. He was so impressed by the engineering of the revenge that he flew to my forge personally. I presented him with the real, perfectly tempered meteorite katana. He tested it himself. It cut through 3 bamboo mats effortlessly, without a single scratch on the edge. He paid me the full $1.5 million, plus a hefty bonus. I took the money, bought a massive new commercial forge facility, and I never have to answer to anyone ever again. Last I heard, Camilla avoided a long prison sentence by taking a plea deal, but she is completely blacklisted from the fine art industry globally. She is currently working as a cashier at a discount hardware store, scanning hammers and nails, knowing she threw away a masterpiece for a cheap illusion. Donovan is completely bankrupt, buried in endless federal litigation, and permanently banned from working in television. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it's this: a beautiful edge means absolutely nothing if the core holding it together is corrupt. If your partner thinks they can use you as an anvil, steal your genius, and leave you to burn in the fire while they take the credit, don't panic, don't fight them for the steel. Smile, hand them the blade, and let them confidently swing your creation in front of the whole world. And right when they think they've struck gold, watch the pressure shatter their entire world to pieces. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's the most satisfying cataclysmic failure you've ever witnessed? Stay sharp, trust the fire, and always stress test your materials.